Level 1. The volunteer. You're 19. It's 1950, and the world is barely 5 years removed from the last Great War. You grew up hearing the stories. Your uncle at Guadalcanal, your neighbor who never came back from Normandy. You didn't wait to be drafted. You walked into the recruiter's office in Columbus, Ohio on a Tuesday morning and signed your name before the ink on the pen had time to dry. You requested medic, not because someone told you to, because you watched your younger brother nearly bleed to death from a farming accident when you were 14. And the doctor who saved him moved with a kind of calm purpose you never forgot. You wanted that. The ability to walk into the worst moment of someone's life and make it survivable. Fort Riley, Kansas in the summer is not merciful. The heat bakes the parade ground white. Your drill sergeant, or a Korean War veteran named Staff Sergeant Pruitt, has no patience for sentiment. He teaches you that medicine in combat is not about compassion. Compassion is a feeling. Medicine is a skill. Feelings don't stop bleeding. Skills do. 8 weeks of basic. Then advanced individual training. You learn wound packing, airway management, IV insertion on moving vehicles, and how to assess a casualty in under 60 seconds while someone is actively shooting in your direction. You learn it until it is not thought, until it is reflex. You ship out in November. Korea is waiting, and Korea does not wait quietly. Level 2. The field medic. You're 20. The Chosin Reservoir is behind you in every sense of the word. You came through it with the 1st Marine Division as an attached Army medic. 17 days of temperatures that dropped to -35 Fahrenheit. All and an enemy that materialized out of frozen ridgelines without warning. Your aid bag is your entire world. Plasma, morphine syrettes, battle dressings, sulfanilamide powder, a surgical airway kit, and 1 folding surgical scissors you sharpened yourself because the issued one was dull. You carry it everywhere. You sleep with it against your side like it's breathing. The first man you lose is a corporal from Macon, Georgia named Willis. Shrapnel to the neck. You are there in 40 seconds. You do everything correctly. He dies anyway, and the medic who trained you back at Fort Riley had told you this would happen. He said the ones you lose correctly are the hardest ones to carry. He was right. The ones you save outnumber the ones you lose. A private with a sucking chest wound you seal with the plastic wrapper from a field dressing. A lieutenant with a shattered tibia you splint with a rifle stock and 2 bootlaces. A Marine, technically not even your unit, who is unconscious in the snow and breathing wrong, and you roll him, clear his airway, and stay with him for 22 minutes in open ground until the litter team arrives. Nobody gives you a medal for that one. You don't need one. He's breathing. You rotate home in 1952. You are 21 years old, and you have aged in ways that don't show on your face, but show in everything else. Level 3, the senior medic. It's 1965. You're 34 and stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, and the news out of Southeast Asia is getting louder every week. The 11th Air Assault Division is being restructured into the 1st Cavalry Division, and the Army is developing something new: airmobile warfare. Helicopters as the primary method of troop movement and casualty evacuation. The entire medical doctrine is being rebuilt around it. You are now the senior medic for a line company. 3 junior medics under your supervision, all of them in their early 20s, all of them smart, all of them untested. Your job is to close that gap before it costs someone their life. You run them hard. Tourniquet placement until it's automatic. Needle decompression on training dummies until they stop flinching. Mass casualty triage exercises at 0-200 because the enemy does not schedule appointments. One of your medics, a young specialist named Delgado from Tucson, has surgeon's hands and 0 composure under pressure. You pair him with the oldest sergeant in the company for a month. Not for medical training, for steadiness. You can teach technique in a classroom. You can only teach calm through exposure. When the deployment orders come, your medics are ready, not fearless. Ready. Those are different things, and you have learned that the difference matters. Level 4, the Platoon Medic, Vietnam. You're 35, it's 1966. The ER Drang Valley is 3 months behind you and already legendary among the men. You are in Binh Dinh province now, moving through terrain that seems designed specifically to kill people who aren't paying attention. Your platoon is 23 men. You are the only medic. The math of that has never once left your mind. In 7 months, you treat 41 battlefield casualties. Gunshot wounds, blast injuries, 2 cases of heat stroke that come within minutes of being fatal, just 1 case of cerebral malaria that you catch because you notice a private acting confused during a patrol brief and you pull him before he goes out into the field. He would not have survived the day. The hardest day is a Tuesday in March. A booby-trapped 105mm shell detonates under a jungle trail. 4 men down simultaneously. You have 2 hands, 1 aid bag, and a training that has prepared you for this exact scenario without ever fully preparing you for this exact scenario. You work for 11 minutes without stopping. You call in the medevac while applying a tourniquet with your teeth holding the radio handset. All 4 survive. You don't write that home. You don't know how to explain it in a letter. You just write that things are going okay and the weather has been hot. If this story is hitting different, like and subscribe for more amazing stories like this. Level 5, the Senior NCO Medic. You're 40. You've been home from Vietnam for 3 years. You are now a staff sergeant, first class, running the medical section of an airborne battalion at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The Army has changed. Vietnam changed it in ways that are still being processed. The all-volunteer force is new. The men coming in are different, motivated differently, trained differently, carrying different assumptions about what service means. You don't judge any of it. You just figure out what they need and you build the training around that. There is a young medic in your section named Private First Class Yeboah from Minneapolis. He is technically outstanding. He is also 18 years old and has never seen anyone seriously hurt. Will you take him to the trauma bay at Womack Army Medical Center on his first week, and you make him observe a real casualty intake, not to frighten him, to bridge the gap between the dummy in the training room and the human being on the table? He comes out pale and quiet. You hand him a cup of water and say nothing for a few minutes. Then you ask him what he noticed. He talks for 12 minutes. Everything he observed, everything he questioned, everything that surprised him. You let him talk. Then you tell him, that is the mind of a medic. Always observing, always questioning. Never surprised twice by the same thing. He becomes one of the best medics you ever train. You will think about him often in the years that follow. Level 6, the Warrant Officer Flight Medic. You're 44. Or you applied for the Flight Medic Warrant Officer program because a surgeon at the 44th Medical Brigade told you that your instincts were wasted on the ground. You weren't sure if that was a compliment? You took it as one? It's 1975. You are flying UH-1 Iroquois medevac missions out of a forward support base in West Germany as part of NATO's Reforger exercises, large-scale war games simulating a Soviet push through Central Europe. The aircraft is a hospital with rotor blades. You have an IV stand bolted to the frame, a suction device, a ventilator, and exactly as much room as you need and no more. You work on casualties in flight, in turbulence, in the dark, with the wind noise making communication nearly impossible. You learn to read vital signs by touch as much as instruments. You learn to communicate with a pilot using only hand signals when the radio fails. During a night exercise, a Black Hawk from another unit goes down hard in a field outside Grafenwöhr. 2 crew members with serious injuries. You are on scene in 9 minutes. You work both casualties simultaneously for 24 minutes before the ground team reaches you. Both crew members complete their service. One of them becomes a flight instructor. You don't know that yet. You just know that the aircraft is cold and your hands are steady and there is more work to do in the morning. Level 7, the Special Operations Medic. You're 48. You didn't expect this assignment. but the commander of the 10th Special Forces Group at Fort Devens read your file and requested you personally. It is 1979. The Cold War is not cold everywhere, and Central America is heating up. The Horn of Africa is unstable. Your role is not combat surgery. Your role is to train the people who will provide care in environments where no evacuation is coming and no hospital is within 200 miles. You spend 6 months in Honduras, training local medical personnel in trauma care, pediatric emergencies, and field sanitation. You speak no Spanish when you arrive. By month 3, you are teaching triage protocols in passable Spanish and learning as much from your students as they learn from you. There is a village health worker named Rosario who has been delivering babies and setting broken bones for 12 years with no formal training and almost no supplies. She knows things about improvised medicine that are not in any field manual. You document everything she shows you. You send the report up the chain with a recommendation that her techniques be formally studied. It takes 4 years, but 2 of her improvised wound packing methods eventually make it into updated training doctrine. You never tell anyone where those ideas came from, but you know, and that's enough. Level 8, the Brigade Surgeon. You're 53. It is 1984, and you hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. You are the Brigade Surgeon for the 82nd Airborne Division, responsible for the medical readiness and doctrine of over 3,000 soldiers. You have been in medicine for over 30 years. You have worked in Korea, Vietnam, West Germany, and Central America. You have treated wounds from bullets, shrapnel, blast, cold, heat, and neglect. You have watched medicine change from sulfanilamide powder and morphine syrettes to surgical airways and hemostatic agents and the early stages of blood product resupply by air. Your job now is not to treat wounds. Your job is to ensure that the 47 medics under your command can treat any wound, anywhere, in any condition, without you present. You spend your mornings reviewing readiness reports. You spend your afternoons in the training areas watching your medics work. You spend your evenings writing policy recommendations that will take months to move through the chain and may never be implemented exactly as written. You send them anyway, every one of them. An aide asks you once why you keep fighting for doctrine, changes that get watered down by the time they're approved. You tell him that a policy recommendation is like a tourniquet. Gee, the first one sometimes isn't enough. You apply another one. You apply as many as it takes. Level 9, the Medical Policy Architect. You're 57. The office has no windows. The Pentagon rarely does, at least not at your level. You sit across conference tables from generals and civilian administrators and defense contractors, and you advocate for the men and women who will bleed on ground these people will never walk on. You are the senior medical advisor to the Army's Combat Casualty Care Research Program. Your work focuses on hemorrhage control, far-forward surgical capability, and the development of new training standards for the 68 Whiskey Pipeline. One morning, a proposal comes across your desk to cut the field trauma simulation hours from the combat medic course by 30%. The rationale is budget. The cost is incalculable. You kill it in writing in under 2 pages. You use no dramatic language. You use numbers, survival rates, response times, the documented performance gap between medics with high simulation hours and medics without. You attach 3 studies and 1 after-action report from Grenada. The proposal dies in committee. The simulation hours stay. You are not celebrated for this. You are not supposed to be. The soldier who survives because their medic had 30 more hours of training will never know your name. That is exactly how it is supposed to work. Level 10, the legacy, you're 63. You retired at 61, and the ceremony was dignified and smaller than the career deserved, which felt right somehow. You live outside San Antonio now. You teach 2 days a week at a nursing college. You consult with a trauma training nonprofit that works with rural emergency responders across the Southwest. Counties where the nearest hospital is 90 minutes away and the first person on scene is a farmer or a neighbor or a teenager who happened to be present. The tourniquet technique you drilled into medics in 1966 in a jungle in Binh Dinh province is now taught in high school health classes in 14 states. The improvised wound packing method, documented from a village health worker in Honduras, is in the current Stop the Bleed curriculum. You were one link in the chain that carried those ideas forward. Not the first link, not the last. One link. There is a student in your nursing class this semester, a young man named Adrian Flores from El Paso. He asks questions that are sharper than most of your answers. He or he wants to work in combat medicine eventually. He has the right instincts and the wrong idea that instincts are enough. You tell him that instincts are the beginning. Repetition is the middle, and the end is never the end, because every patient you save goes on to need saving again someday. And the medic who saves them then will have learned something from someone who learned it from you. He writes that down. You watch him write it. That is the whole point. The work was never about rank. The rank was just the road. At every level, in every theater, through every war and every policy fight and every 0-200 training drill, the mission was always the same. Stop the bleeding. Keep them breathing. Bring them home.